The girl entered the elevator and he followed eagerly, checking for witnesses. The man paused, ready for a fleeting high. She feigned obedience but attacked with lightning speed. A crippling blow left him writhing, face twisted in pain. She turned away arrogantly, unaware she had missed her only chance to survive. The man's phone rang in the elevator as his wife warned him of violent attacks outside. The lights above flickered wildly as the elevator malfunctioned and got stuck between floors. The man was Paul, the CEO of this company. Paul yelled at the security chief who promised to dispatch backup immediately. But no help came, just endless waiting. A CEO like me, stuck here wasting time, unacceptable. Paul took action himself and with a final push forced the inner door open. The outer door only budged slightly. Paul squeezed his head through, yelling for help. The usually bustling corridor was now strangely deserted. He tried to crawl out, but the gap was too narrow. His wife called again, minus someone was violently banging on their front door. Paul urged his wife to call the police, but she said the line was constantly busy. Fuming with worry, Paul called a friend to rush to his home. The moment he hung up, chaos exploded behind him. A stampede of terrified people surged past. His former secretary clawed her way toward the elevator, shrieking for help. Then, she was yanked away with brute force. The hallway outside felt eerily silent. Baffled and unable to see clearly, Paul peered out to investigate. Snarling employees suddenly lunged at him, their faces twisted in rage. Paul's mind reeled, unable to process the horror unfolding before him. Fortunately, the sounds from the hallway soon drew them away. Still shaken, Paul got a frantic call from his friend reporting streets jammed with hysterical mobs and total gridlock. Paul quickly told his friend about the horrifying scene, who gasped, "Is this a zombie outbreak?" Paul was mid-sentence when his friend's screams erupted through the phone, then abruptly cut to silence. Paul broke down, overwhelmed by terror and hopelessness. The elevator speaker blared the security chief's voice. Paul grasped at the lifeline and begged frantically to be let out. The chief assured him help was on the way and to stay put. Before he could finish, a blood-curdling scream came through, followed by complete silence. Paul's panic grew. Something terrible was happening outside. As Paul's wife called once more, he turned to pick up the phone when suddenly a hand seized him from behind. Paul turned in horror to see the secretary who had just been dragged away, now transformed into a mindless zombie lunging at him. He ripped off the handrail and bashed the zombie's head repeatedly. Only when it stopped moving did Paul realize what he'd done. The man kept reassuring himself that he had only killed a mindless zombie. Paul shuddered as he gazed at the eerily familiar face before him. Gripping the steel pipe, he shoved the secretary's body out of sight. Paul slumped down, gasping after the grim task. Then more noises outside. Paul tightened his grip on the pipe and crept forward. It was the intern who just got hired. Paul barely remembered her name and whispered for her to come help force the elevator doors open. The elevator doors remained stuck despite their efforts. Then, the groans of zombies grew closer. The terrified intern scrambled for the elevator. The gap was too tight. She bolted, leaving Paul behind. Paul cursed as a zombie lunged at him, its claws scrabbling for the elevator door. Paul hesitated. The zombie hurled backward by an unseen force. The intern had just fled moments ago. She fiercely swung her golf club at the zombie. Paul stared in stunned silence at the frail girl's astonishing display of ferocity. As he moved to thank her, two more zombies burst from the hallway. Paul watched in panic as the intern was taken down, frantic yet helpless. He could only shout helplessly. The dazed man pulled out his phone and saw the news. The city was in chaos, and the military had been deployed. Paul thought of his wife trapped at home. Thank God she was alive. Zombies swarmed the entrance. After her final screams, his wife went silent. Paul stood speechless, drowning in helplessness. A bloodied and bearded man stumbled into sight, clearly just emerged from a brutal fight. Seeing Paul inside, he knew he found the perfect hideout. He frantically squeezed himself in. Paul was numb with despair, knowing all efforts were futile. That tiny gap might as well have been a mile wide. The zombies soon arrived, growling as they lunged at the bearded man. Paul chuckled bitterly, trapped inside while others struggled outside. He was choking on frustration. A zombie passed by just then. Paul made noise on purpose, grabbed a steel pipe, and let loose. As zombies kept coming, Paul fought like a man possessed. A noise came from down the hall. It was his company's deputy manager. Seeing the deputy manager about to be caught, Paul screamed to draw the zombies away. The monsters ignored him, swarming into the deputy manager's office. Watching his colleagues die one by one, Paul fell to his knees, silent in grief. Oddly, the despair calmed him. He started looking for answers online. The news was swamped with endless zombie outbreak reports. A reporter stuck in the chaos begged everyone to stay home. The city had been completely overrun. Suddenly, he faced a group of savage zombies. The elevator lights flickered off. Paul glanced at the growing zombies by the door. Knowing he'd soon turn into one of them, Paul resigned to his fate until gunshots rang out in the hallway. A glimmer of hope returned. Paul leaned out, shouting for help. A fully armed soldier stepped into view. Assured Paul was clean, the soldier pried at the elevator, unaware of the zombie creeping up behind. The soldier swiftly turned and shot the zombie dead. They strained to pry the elevator open, but the door wouldn't budge. The soldier believed power could fix the elevator. He handed Paul a walkie-talkie and the pistol, gave quick instructions, and headed for the power room. The elevator fell silent again, but Paul wasn't scared this time. Soon, the lights flickered back on and the elevator powered up, yet the doors refused to budge. He saw a jammed slider in the tracks but couldn't quite reach. A zombie lunged at him, sending Paul scrambling into the corner. He remembered the soldier's gun, clenched his teeth, and fired. Paul fired his first shot but missed the target by a wide margin. He steadied himself and fired again, bullseye between the eyes. The gunshot noise attracted more zombies. Paul gained confidence, picking off zombies with deadly precision. He took a deep breath and urged the soldier to hurry back. The elevator door was safe for now until the soldier's scream crackled over the radio. Then silence. Paul knew the soldier was probably dead too. His fleeting hope died again, leaving him trapped in the elevator with despair. Finding bullets still in the magazine, Paul considered ending his life right there. But with a gun to his head, he couldn't pull the trigger. Zombies scrambled to the door, their snarls like mocking laughter. Paul resolved to die, proving his courage. A sudden noise came from above. The soldier was still alive. Paul forced the hatch open and pulled the soldier inside. The soldier saw zombies at the door and emptied his clip. The hall went silent instantly. With the threat gone, the soldier started telling his story. Surrounded by zombies in the power room, he narrowly escaped by crawling through a ventilation duct. Tragically, a zombie got him during the escape. He had seen news reports that he would soon turn into a zombie. Paul was baffled. Where did this virus originate? The soldier shook his head. Perhaps it was rabid animals. His unit was ordered to wipe out zombies at daybreak. Yet by midday he stood alone as the only survivor of his squad. He pleaded with Paul to end his life before he turned into a mindless monster. This soldier had saved his life again and again. How could he possibly do it? The soldier tried to end it, but Paul stopped him. He threw a wild punch, and slowly both men calmed down. The tension was palpable. Paul held on to a slim hope that the soldier might not turn. Several hours later, the unconscious soldier suddenly rose. His transformation had begun. Paul abandoned all hope, raised his pistol, and pulled the trigger. The soldier slowly fell as the gunshot echoed across the area. Hordes of zombies swarmed in from all directions. With his pistol empty, he picked up the fallen soldier's shotgun. The shotgun's massive kick caught Paul completely off guard, knocking him unconscious on the spot. When he woke up, the eerie silence remained. Then, out of nowhere, the phone rang. His wife's voice shocked him. Paul broke down in tears of joy, his first piece of good news all day. She said a rescue team had brought her to safety. Paul wanted to say more, but his phone ran out of battery. But hope flared anew. He grabbed a steel pipe from the floor. He jammed the pipe into the track and forced it open with a metallic clank. At last, Paul forced the elevator doors apart. Seeing the gap was wide enough, he climbed out without hesitation. Staring at the pile of corpses, some with familiar faces, he fought back his fear. Paul drew a deep breath and stepped forward with heavy footsteps. The lobby was just as bad. Seeing a zombie still moving, Paul crushed its head without hesitation. After 8 grueling hours in the elevator, he emerged a changed man. Limping out of the building, he saw the streets covered with lifeless corpses. It felt like he was the only one left alive in the city. Paul saw a milk bottle on the ground, but as he picked it up, a zombie nearby attacked. As Paul froze, a bullet hit the zombie square in the head. A military sniper fired from above. Paul is finally safe, but for how long can the city last? That wraps up Zombie Elevator for you. Despite no big action scenes, the film delivers intense tension through claustrophobic survival. The hero's journey makes us ponder the tough choices between right and wrong, bravery and fear, in dire times. My takeaway: cherish the now. Finding joy in everyday life is what truly matters. That concludes today's talk. Share your views in the comments and see you next time.